Let's whack that. There we go. How we doing? Live streaming. Live for 7 seconds. There we are. Yeah, here we are. Unmute. Can you hear me? I think you can hear me. I think that's just a matter of I think we're just lagging a little bit because of various crap. I'm looking at the YouTube page and not at my I am not looking at my OBS window, which is where I usually look because, you know, that's where I'm typically like focused, but OBS doesn't show me the chat and I need to see what's going on in the chat. If I don't know what's going on in the chat, then you know, I neglect my audience, and that's not cool. So let me what the hell, let's jump into Clip Studio Paint and we'll fire up a new thingy. And we are going to need, first of all, well, we're going to need some kind of, we're going to need a head to put our hair onto. So let's do a quick little anime girl face here. Little dinky nose. We'll give her kind of a pout. That's not a very good pout. There we go. We'll give her something of a pout. And then we will jock down the transparency on that, and we'll jump over to composition, as we'll give her blue hair. Anyway. Center line of the head, identify that. Probably also want to identify, here's where the ear is, right about there. So there's the ear, and we'll jump back into our composition layer. Now, on one side or the other of this, first of all, you're going to have the natural scalp line. It's probably not going to run straight down the center. It's probably going to run a little to the side. And running a little bit to the side, it's going to run back toward this kind of central area of the skull there. And in that central area of the skull, the hair either goes around clockwise or it goes around counterclockwise, which is just kind of the direction that it points. The hair doesn't go like straight out in all directions like that. It's whirled. So it kind of grows a little bit off to the side. And this is one of the reasons why when you're working with something like this, the hair is not coming straight out of the head. The hair has a cross-section, and the hair is either very round or very flat or somewhere in the middle. And these three types can be broadly referred to as, this one right here is kind of an Asian form. This is more of a Caucasian form. And this is more African. Now, this relates to how much it curls. Now, in the Caucasian hair really kind of goes everywhere between Asian and African. It can curl very tightly. It can curl very loosely. It can just have some waves in it. You know, it really goes in all different directions. Okay? Asian hair rarely curls at all. It just grows straight because it's round. And being round, even when one side grows faster than the other, which is typically what causes hair to curl, there's just not enough of a bend in that for it to actually curl. It grows out and it just kind of falls over. But you do get kind of these sharp bits at the end. Okay? Now, when you're talking about a different type of hair, like say you're talking about a Caucasian person's hair, if the side that's growing faster is on one side of the flat bit and the side that's growing slower is on the other side, then what you get is, because it's flat, it tends to want to flop over, and you get these kind of curling, waving shapes. And it can go very widely curled. The flatter it is, the more it curls. You get African hair, and African hair just grows in these tight little spirals. Okay? Because pretty much no matter which side grows faster, well, that wasn't what I wanted to do. But no matter which side grows faster on African hair, it curls up very, very tightly. And because of that, it has kind of this uniform, kind of matted look, where it's just kind of a mass. And you can't really see the individual hairs. You kind of can, but because they're all wrapped around and tightly enmeshed in one another, it's more like just one mass of hair. And it's kind of the same way with all hair, that it's easier to think of it not as individual hairs, but as one coherent mass that just has kind of a shape and structure to it. It has particular lines to it, has a particular way that it reflects light. But thinking about it as individual hairs is probably going to get you into more trouble than it's going to help you. So as you're looking at where the scalp is, the individual hairs come out of there, but there are so many of them that they become kind of a single mass. So coming out of this area, they're going to come out and they're going to sort of fall over as they get longer. So as the hair comes out of the scalp there, it's going to flop over. And as it comes out here, it's going to come a little bit to the side and it's going to flop over. And the hairs are all going to kind of come up. And as the next one comes up, you got these two hairs that are coming out. The one that comes up between them is going to be closer to one or the other. And they're going to kind of clump together. So you're going to get these little clumps and these little bundles of hair. So you're going to have these little individual bits that can really kind of be seen. And if you make it too obvious, then, you know, you get kind of what I call the bundle of carrots, you know, where your hair is just like, it's a bunch of carrots. And, you know, if you're drawing this out of Pecora, that might actually be a good idea. But, you know. But if you're drawing like a typical... God, I'm so not used to this. I've been messing with my hotkeys. And because I've been messing with my hotkeys, I'm still not used to how things work. Still building that kind of workflow when I'm jumping in there. But you've got your center line there, and you've got your scalp line here. So forget about the center line once you've got the scalp line. What matters is that you've got the scalp line, and all of your hair is going to come out of that, and it's going to go out across the head. That's where it's all going to come from, and that's where it's all going to go. Now, the easiest way to think about this, you don't want to do just like this, unless you're a cartoonist. That doesn't look good. But one of the easy ways to think about it is you can think of it as kind of, there's the fringe in front, you've got this hair, and then you've got kind of the sides over here, which go in front of, over, and immediately behind the ear. And then you've got the back hair. And these all tend to have kind of their individual lengths. The fringe will tend to come down to just past the eyebrows. You want to bring it in kind of, if we start here, if we think of the eyebrow is up over the eye right here, if we do a pair of eyebrows, you typically want the fringe to come down just to between the eyebrows and the eye. You don't want it much over the eyebrows. That looks dumb, okay? And you want it to be reasonably straight across. Now, this is useful because if you're showing somebody who's young and has gotten a bad haircut, you can make it clear to the female audience that she's gotten a bad haircut by making the hair just a little bit crooked and bringing it in above one eyebrow and just barely at the other eyebrow. A woman will immediately know this is a bad haircut. But your guys will be like, what? What's wrong with that? I don't understand. And that's a good thing. It's frequently good. Whenever you have a group in your audience that is even slightly marginalized, it is a good idea to do jokes that only play to them. Jokes that only they get. Nobody else gets them. That's important because that tells them that you understand they're there and you care what they think and you care about doing stuff just for them. If you leave all of the old white men on the curb and everybody else is like, I get it. You know, all of the old white men sitting there going, what? I don't understand. The rest of the world will vastly appreciate that you left all the old white men on the curb. It's just like you do a joke only gay people get. They see the straight people going, I don't get it. The gay people will love you for it. It's the same thing with like the trans community, with women, with younger generations and older generations. If you deliberately leave a bunch of people on the curb not getting the fucking joke, the people who actually get the joke will love you so much more. It makes a huge, huge difference. It makes those people feel good. And the people who don't get the joke, they typically don't care. They just go, I don't understand. And they move on. So if you have enough jokes that like play to everybody, Family Guy's a great example of this now that I think of it. You watch Family Guy and like 80% of the jokes are funny as hell no matter who you are. And the other 20% of the jokes are just like, they're either not funny to the average person or they're actively offensive to the average person. And those 20% are what make people absolutely fucking love Family Guy. The other 80% of the jokes, they're funny to everybody, but they're not that funny. They're not that good. And the real kicker on Family Guy is when you watch Family Guy, it's joke, 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 joke. There's so many jokes that come so fast. Even if a joke misses, there's going to be another one along in like 7 seconds. Somebody actually timed it and they came up with that. They were just like, on the average sitcom, there's a joke every 2 minutes and 12 seconds or something like that. But on animated humorous shows, on like The Simpsons and stuff like that, you get all these animated shows, you typically get jokes faster than one a minute. But on Family Guy in particular, it's a joke every 7 seconds. And some of the jokes are not funny, and some of the jokes are bad, and some of the jokes are offensive, and some of the jokes are hysterical. But it's just, there are so many jokes so fast, it doesn't matter if like 80% of the jokes don't really make you laugh, because that last few, there's always a couple, and it's almost as many as you would get in a typical show, you know? So that's one of those things that Family Guy absolutely nails, just by putting so many jokes into the show that they hit everybody. Where a lot of other shows like South Park plays really well to a specific audience, but if you're not in that audience, you just don't get it. You know, the whole show leaves you on the curb. Whereas in Family Guy, you know, there are some jokes that leave you on the curb, and most of the jokes just aren't funny. But those last few, you know, they keep a large audience coming back and watching. That's why Seth MacFarlane keeps getting uncanceled and put back on the air. They cancel him, and then it's just like, well, fuck it, put him back on the air. People like him. People are watching him. So anyway, we've got our scalp in here. And we've got our kind of 3 zones. We've got the back of the head, we've got the side of the head, and we've got the front of the head where the fringe goes. And you try to put that down around between the eyebrows and the eyelashes. I'm doing a terrible job of this. Let's do a slightly different style here. You know, what I'm talking about mostly at this point is getting the idea of where hair comes from and where it goes. I'm not trying to draw good hair right now. It's not like I'm going to do that much better when I am trying to draw good hair, but you know, it's like I am like just mostly talking about the concept and not trying to draw great hair. But you can draw this kind of, you can put a part in the hair in the middle, and just kind of loop it up and over. And then you kind of blend that in to the sides, and you have these individual little bits and pieces of hair. You got the hair that comes off the sides here, and then you got the hair that comes off the back here. And again, you can divide that up into kind of those three parts. And if we do sort of a side view like this, here's your ear. You got the bangs are going to sit over here. Here's your eye. Here's your eyebrow. You got the bangs, the fringe, are going to sit right up around here, like so. And then along the side of the head, you're going to have hair that comes down in front of the ear. It doesn't have to come all the way down in front of the ear. You got hair that may come down over the ear or maybe tucked behind the ear, depending. And then you've got the hair immediately behind the ear. And then on the back, you've got this hair right here. But it all sits up over top of the head. And you need to think about the volume of the hair. The hair itself doesn't have volume, but there's a lot of air trapped in and around and under the hair. And you can't really see it unless the hair is really thin and you can see straight through to the scalp. But all of that hair is just kind of forming a shell, forming a layer over that head. So it comes down and it looks like a solid mass. It looks like a solid block of a solid piece of material. But of course it's not. It's all these individual hairs. And you're going to fake all of those individual hairs by texturing it. Texturing it is what gives you that kind of, as you just sort of follow the curve of the individual hairs, and then you're going to do from here, you're going to do slightly lighter. You're going to have some highlights in some places, depending on where the light is, of course. And you'll make sure that those highlights kind of follow the shape of the skull, follow the shape of the hair. So you're just going to kind of put those highlights in the same direction as the hairs on the head, but you're not going to draw each and every individual hair. If you're going for a very realistic style, you may have like a few flyaways, like you could probably see on my hair right here, that kind of thing. But you don't have to do that. And you can, of course, start out and you go, okay, here's kind of this deep blue shade. And actually, let's go a little bit lighter here. Let's start out and we'll just go, okay, here's the shape of the hair that we're putting on the head. And we'll just kind of make a solid shape here. I'll make the brush really big and just kind of fill that in. Once you've got kind of this solid mass that is sitting where you want all of your hair, bangs in right there, you can then go in and you start by saying, okay, we're gonna have some light coming in, and we're gonna say the light is coming from over here, and it's coming in at sort of this angle. So at the bottom of the hair here, the bottom of the hair is going to be darker. And toward the front here is going to be darker. So you want to follow the contour of the hair and just kind of get, the light is up here and it's coming in this direction. So you get these kind of shadows right here, and you're going to get even more shadows on this side of the head, and that's going to shadow most of that area. So you're going to come down, and just by following the direction of the hairs and the shape of the head, you're already starting to get this kind of hair looking shape. Now up at the top, again, as you follow the shape of the head and you show kind of shape of the hair, you can do these little highlights. You have this little glistening area up at the top, and you have more of it over here. We're going to have kind of a rim lighting effect over on this side. And just by following kind of the shape and dropping the size of your brush down, just by kind of following that shape, you get something that looks more like hair, and I'm doing a really bad job here. And then you can back up a little bit and you can kind of carve away at that and make it look a little bit less overdone, which it definitely was. By just following it, just by following the shape of the hair with your brush strokes, or your pen strokes, really, or your mouse pointer strokes, if you're working with a mouse. Just by following the direction that the hair would be going and thinking about the direction the light is coming from, you start to develop this actual notion of this being hair and not just like a plastic helmet sitting on top of somebody's head. And that's, I mean, that's not great. I don't expect it to be great. I'm not good at, that was great. I'm not good at drawing hair necessarily. I don't claim to be good at doing much of anything. I'm still kind of learning all of this stuff. But, you know what? Let me move this out of the way. I'll move it over here. And now we've got our light in a different place. So we'll have our light coming from over here instead. And now let's start laying in a slightly different hairstyle. Like, let's say instead of having the hair come down in a fringe, what if we bring the hair around off to the side, like so. Here we go, back behind the face, and come down and lay over the shoulder, like that. And then we will, of course, switch over to the transparent and clear that out of there. Drawing through is important. If you're drawing stuff on either side of a particular piece of your drawing, do it on a different layer, draw all the way through, and then erase the part that's behind stuff. It's generally a bad idea to try and draw one bit and then skip the rest and draw the rest, because you are usually wrong about that. Those end up being off. So if you just draw through and then come back and erase, you'll typically do a better job. Let me erase that bit right there. Then we'll go back to, and we're going to bring this over here. And what we're going to do on this one is we are going to have a kind of tight ponytail thing. So this is going to follow up along the side of the head here. That's going to follow up along the side there, and it's still going to come down here, but in this area it's all going to kind of pull together, and then there's going to be some type of hair tie here that will I'm doing a darker color. I'll do a kind of dark blue there, and then we'll bring that out and have kind of a ponytail type shape. And this is a high ponytail, and as a high ponytail, it's kind of being pulled tight. I'm not trying to do a great job on this. If you're looking at this and going, "Oh my God, this looks awful," yeah, it does. I'm seeing that. I'm not trying to tell you this is a perfect job. I'm just saying, you know, this is kind of the process and where you think about stuff, because that's pretty much all I can offer you at this stage of my skill level. But once you got that in there, then you can start thinking about the light is coming from this side. So with the light coming from this side, this part right here, that's going to be kind of shadowed, and this part over here is also going to be shadowed. This whole side of the head is probably going to be in shadow. So we can kind of pull this down like so. And then we can come up here and do some highlights. Actually, before we do the highlights, this side right here, this is going to be in shadow, and this is going to be in shadow here. But this top bit here, that is going to get something of a highlight. And this bit here is going to get something of a highlight because of where the light is coming from. And it's the same thing over here. We're going to have some highlights on this part of the hair. We're going to have some highlights up here on this edge of the hair. And you just always think about three-dimensional forms. You always think about the direction that things are curving, the direction that things are twisting, the direction that things are moving. You want to think about where your light is, which direction your light is pointing. If you're outdoors, the light is kind of going in all directions, but it's still coming from a specific direction, okay? You've got more ambient light, and you're not going to have deeper shadows in outdoor sunlit situations. But you are still going to have shadows. You are still going to have some shadows and some darker areas on there. And you can see here that the difference between these two little hair renderings, which, again, I feel like they're awful. Katrina is being very nice and saying that awful is such a strong word. It is a strong word. That's a strong way I feel. These look awful. But they do look better than I expected. I've been spending most of the week looking at... I've been looking at stuff about how to draw hair and how to render hair and how to do stuff like that. And I feel like I'm learning some stuff, that I'm getting something out of it, but I'm not really seeing a whole lot of that in, I'm not seeing a lot of that in my work. I actually like sit and try to draw a character or whatnot. Let's take this particular, we'll take that particular layer and we'll just hide it for now, and then we'll move on to another one. Let's talk about curly hair. Curly hair is something that let's do some kind of black curly hair, or at the very least wavy hair. So if we think, first of all, we're going to put our scalp on here like so. And then we're going to bring the hair off. And when you're doing wavy hair, you want to kind of think in these long curves, okay? You know, think in these long curves, and you want to kind of follow them down. And they're going to be straighter up top, but the curves get more pronounced as you come farther down. So they'll kind of show up here, but they'll get more and more loose and wavy as they get farther down. Okay? Actually, that's backwards. They get closer together as they get farther down, because up at the top, that curl, let me pull these off of here, because I kind of got that backwards. Here I am trying to explain a thing that I know, and then I draw it, and I go, that's the exact opposite of what I'm supposed to be saying here. I am really not good at this explain while I draw kind of thing. But you're going to get, your waves are going to be kind of longer here, because the weight of the hair, there's more hair pulling here. So as it comes farther down, it's going to get tighter, and there's going to be, because this curl is trying to pull up just this much of the hair. This curl is trying to pull up this much of the hair, and this curl is trying to pull up this much of the hair. So that curl is not going to pull as hard. The hair has the same amount of strength no matter which part of it you're looking at. So because of that, you end up with these tighter curls down at the bottom, these more pronounced waves. So it'll start off up at the top. It's not all that wavy. It'll start off not all that wavy. It's going to get a bit of a wave, and then it's going to get more of one as it goes down. And the same thing happens all over it. Unless you have someone who's like specifically curled their hair. And one of the big ones that you see is what they call drill hair. And drill hair is, there's kind of a shortcut for this one actually. For drill hair, you could draw the shape that you want the overall hair to have, like this. And then you just kind of section that off. Kind of draw those bits right there. And now you just switch over to your transparent and you erase the bits in the middle. So you erase that. This is not a hairstyle you typically see on real people. It's typically just an anime hairstyle. But we are mostly weebs on this channel. So you end up with something like this. And now what you're doing is you're connecting, okay, this corner. You're connecting this corner ostensibly to this corner, but you're going to skip the part that goes behind. And you do the same thing here. So you get kind of this situation. And then you just kind of swoop it around and trail it off. And then on each side of this, okay, this is where it would connect up to the head. So up here, you would actually meld that in to your main hairstyle. And then along the sides, what you would do is you would just kind of do these little barreled strokes to show that this is a rounded form. And that's how you do your drill hair. And you do the same thing on the back, but on the back you want to do your barreled strokes on the inside, because that's the inner shadow of the hair right there. So it's kind of a deeper shadow in there. And of course we all know that whenever somebody's got drill hair, you know it's going to be blonde. It's always blonde. It has to be blonde. It is required by anime law to be blonde. The drill hair is always blonde. That's the only way you can do it. And you can see that the way I'm doing my color here is to draw on a layer behind this. And you may or may not have noticed my my layer titles. I have a macro set up inside Clip Studio Paint that sets up my initial layers. And those initial layers up here at the top, I have one that's titled Sketch. That's where I do my main sketch, like right there. And then under that, I have the composition layer, which is where I do my construction and all of my like cylinders and basic forms and that sort of thing. And then I got my line art, which theoretically is where I refine everything. This is where I would come and go, oh, okay, it's time to actually like do the final eyebrow and like actually do a good job and make sure that this actually looks good. But I never do that because I'm a loser. I'm not actually a loser. I just never get around to doing that because I never feel like I do a good job. And every time I try to do a good job, I just kind of fuck it up, you know. I still have these massive confidence problems around them. And one of these days they will go away, but for the moment, they are not going away. So I am stuck kind of doing the stuff that I am already doing. I want to improve that. I don't feel like my art is improving very much, but as I'm sitting here right now, this is literally the first stream I've ever done where I'm sitting here and I'm going, you know, this is better than I would have done on this same subject like 2 days ago. 2 days ago, I wouldn't have done as well talking about hair and explaining hair and trying to draw hair as I'm doing right now. So this is really like, this is an historical moment. This is me going, wow, I actually am improving. I'm not improving a lot. And thank you, Katrina, for reinforcing that I am not a loser. I know I'm not a loser. I'm just self-deprecating all the time, and I only mean it like 80% of the time. Yeah, what the hell was that? Jeez. We got rats or something? It's a stupid question. Of course we have rats. We live by a river. Of course there are rats. There are always rats. But yeah, that's your kind of shortcut for the drill hair, like you might get on what's her name, Beatrice on Re:Zero. For those of you that don't know who that is, let me see. Do I have a picture of her? Might. Do I? I do not have a picture of Beatrice. I do not have a picture of Beatrice at all. I wonder if I can look one up. Let me run and look one up real quick. I flip over here and I'll go Beatrice images. Yeah, let's specify that we're talking about Beatrice from Re:Zero, because I am getting the wrong results on that. But yeah, here we go. Let me copy that image, and I'll come down here, and bam, there she is. That's drill hair. This is what drill hair looks like, if you're not familiar with it. And here's my rendition of it, which isn't awful. You know, it's there would be there's some details that I could have gotten better on it, but you know, you can see that the same structure is there. It's the same basic concept where you start with your basic shape and then you just sort of section it off. Fill your strokes so it's clear that this is round, and that's really all you need to do. And wow, I should have created a new layer for that, but I didn't even bother because I'm a terrible person. I should probably save that off so I have this as reference. Save as Beatrice, PNG, pictures, save. Okay. I do not have a full folder for Re:Zero because I just don't have that many Re:Zero reference pictures. But anyway, that's my shortcut for drill hair right there. And let's talk a little bit more about wavy hair and curly hair and that sort of thing. There's nothing wrong with just kind of like drawing out the way that the hair would be, but people always want to do kind of this curly, springy thing, trying to draw hair. That really isn't how the hair goes. It's really more like this. And again, there's really, you know, honestly, I should start at the end. I should start down here, and then, ooh, that is probably the best way to do this I've found yet, is to start down at the bottom of the hair and work your way up, because there's a tendency to kind of, you start out tight, well, for me anyway, there's this tendency to start out tight and then loosen up, and that's exactly the method that you want. Really, there we go. The difference is there's the center sections went in and yours go out. Yeah, it's a different shape. It's a different shape. But you know, you have that initial thing. I was actually thinking of a different character, but I couldn't remember her name, so I just went, "Who else do I know with drill hair? I can't remember that one girl's name." But there's this one girl who has drill hair, and it's very much this kind of football shape kind of thing, which I think is just hilarious because it's so awful. But yeah, this start down at the end of the hair and work up. Well, hold on. How would this work? How would this work working from a standpoint of you're drawing the hair, you're drawing the character's hair, you want to do the upward sweeping. You'd want to do kind of the shape of the hair first and get some idea what the length is. And you would want to put that on its own layer. And then you would start there and you would just kind of work your way up. And that would give you kind of your initial sort of situation, and then you would come into that and you would just kind of would add, you would want to go a slightly lighter color underneath of that, so you'd pull the original shape and then you'd go sort of underneath of that. What the hell is going on there? So underneath of that you would kind of do a darker color. Yes, I am in fact inventing this technique right here on stream. I have no idea what I'm doing. I am just kind of messing around. So you do sort of a darker color, and then having done that, once you get your base coat in underneath of it, the many valuable things you can get out of layers. Once you get that in, you would want to go lighter. I think my pen nib may be wearing out. That may be the issue. To get that done, you'd probably want to create a new layer and just kind of get in there and figure out where your light's coming from. Like, let's say our light's coming from over here and kind of down like so. So if we're coming in from this side, and it's kind of shining from the front, and you want to sort of get in here and do your highlights coming down along this way. And you'd have a, this isn't terrible. Would like it to be a little bit better, would like it to be a little better laid out. Yeah. So yeah, and then you get your highlights in. So you kind of get your base layer together. You get your initial shape of the hair, and then you do your individual sort of curl situation, and then you put in the shadowed base layer, and then you come in over top of that. And it's probably a good idea to come in there and once you do a bit of that, to just kind of go down and blend it in a little bit. Start with a blending brush. Just kind of soften the edges somewhat. Probably overdoing this. I'm not good with the blending brush. I don't know, I feel like that's no, I'm not liking that. See how far I can back this up. Can I back up all of the blurring? Can I back up all of my blending and the flattening of the layers? I can, actually. That's kind of amazing. So yeah, let's jump back in here with the brush and drop that down again, and we'll but yeah, if you just kind of come in here and think in terms of where the light is, the light's kind of shining off of there. Think of it, I'm not doing a great job on this, but that's not bad. Not good, but bad. I can see something like this coming from somebody who's maybe still in art school and not very good at hair yet, which, you know, hey, that's me. I'm not very good at doing hair yet. I'm kind of in my own art school. One of the primary things that I'm trying to do with these videos is particularly in the early ones, I'm not so much trying to teach you how to do stuff, so much as I am trying to show you that it's okay to suck if you're working on it, if you're trying. And explaining how to do stuff is a good way to understand how to do stuff. Like, I mean, the whole concept of starting at the bottom and moving up, I think that's a good idea. But if I had figured that out while I was sketching all by myself and nobody was watching and there was nobody to hear anything I said and I wasn't recording, that little bit of information might have been just perpetually lost. I might have realized that and just never thought to say it ever again, because who doesn't know that? You know, it's like, I mentioned to someone on a forum once that that one of the smarter things you can do when you're working on a picture for the internet is to work at a very large size, and then when you make the picture smaller, everything that you fucked up will basically disappear, because when you've done it at a large size, you got all these little bits and pieces you didn't quite get right, but then when you reduce it, all of your mistakes become smaller along with the entire image. And when I said that, a whole bunch of people said, wasn't that just common knowledge? Doesn't everybody know that? No, I didn't know that when I started, and it's an important thing when you're building images at small sizes. It's like, another one is, if you're going to make an image really small, you're going to lose a lot of detail unless you blur it before you reduce the size. If you blur it before you reduce the size, then a lot of the detail that you would otherwise lose gets fuzzy at the large size, but then when you reduce it, it's still there and can still be seen. And that's one of those things that frequently gets represented as a pro tip, but it's not a pro tip. It's just something that everybody knows, quote unquote, everybody knows this stuff. And it's not a pro thing. It's just something that you're expected to know. You're expected to know this thing, and you're expected to go and do this thing. And if you're not doing this thing, then clearly you don't know what you're doing. But you'll always not know what you're doing if nobody tells you. And that's really what I'm going for in a lot of this stuff, is just to put stuff out there and go, here's some shit that you need to know. And I'm not great at anything. It's hard to watch people who are great at something. It's like you watch some amazing artist do a speed paint and you learn nothing, because number one, he's sped up the painting process to 5 times normal. You can't even watch his technique. You don't know what he's doing. You know, and you can't see which tools he's selecting. You can't see which settings he's got on them. He's not explaining what he's doing. He's not explaining how it all fits together or how it creates the effect that he's going for. And it's really hard to find people that explain that, you know? And I feel like one of the best things that I can do just in the course of figuring this shit out myself is to kind of talk my way through it on camera, where other people can go and watch over it later and they can go, you know, hey, you know, that's a thing that I never thought of. And maybe you learn something and maybe you don't. And in any case, it's a quantity of content that goes on YouTube and tells YouTube, hey, guess what? This guy's making 2 videos a week. So, you know, maybe you should put him in people's recommended or something. I don't know. Maybe people will do. Maybe YouTube will do that. Maybe they won't. The mysteries of the YouTube algorithm are, well, they're not that mysterious, actually. YouTube is trying to keep you on YouTube as long as possible. That's it. They want to show you videos that you will watch. They want to show you a video that will make you watch as long as possible, so you just stay on YouTube. And that's what they're after. If you wouldn't watch a video like this for more than a couple of minutes, they don't want to show you this video. That's fine. I'll wait until people actually want to watch me for extended periods of time. I mean, I have a couple of people. Who like watching me for extended periods of time. And eventually there will be more of those. And as there are more of those, YouTube will start going, hey, these people watch you for an extended period of time. I'll go find other people like them. but they're kind of unique, so it'll be hard for YouTube to find people like them. Yeah. Really not liking this. I got to study curly hair like in particular because this is not very good. However, I am going to make a folder, and I'm going to come over here with my actual mouse. I'm going to grab these 3 layers. I'm going to stick them in that folder, and then I'm going to turn off that folder. So I'm not going to throw this out. It is typical of me to throw out a layer when I'm not happy with it. But instead of that, I'm going to create a new color layer, and I don't know, should I cover... I did a shit job on the curly hair. I'd do a worse job on African hair. That would just make me look racist. I'm racist enough without people thinking that I'm racist. But, yeah, let's see. Check something over here. Oh my God, I'm already on almost an hour. Let's do some like orangish hair. A little more orangish. Around here, or in this area. Brown is dark orange, by the way. A lot of people don't realize that. Do something, something gingery, something like that. When you try to do each and every individual hair, it looks like crap. You want to do kind of shapes. This is a thing that that gets done an awful lot in anime, is they kind of block stuff off like this. It's just sort of drawn out in little areas of this nature. And that comes up and around. And you've got additional bits that come down. Typically, you'll have like spiky bits around the back. So you end up with something like that. And if you just kind of go with the direction of the hair, mostly. And of course, there's typically that black outline around everything. And it's that black outline that they use to kind of give structure and form to the hair. I'm kind of working in more of a painterish form. Wherever the hair crosses over itself, you want to make the line a little bit heavier. Right there. Here it kind of... and let's oops, that's that was not what I wanted. Let's put it back on brush. Yeah, I don't wanna... I don't think I want to mess around trying to get it to see, I've put the line art and the color on the same layer. This is why you don't want to do that, because now I'm like erasing my line art as I put in the color. Which is not that big a deal because the line art is simple enough that I can just jump back in here and redo it. If I had particularly intricate and detailed line art, that would be bad. That would be very bad. It would be ungood. Double plus ungood. And then there's typically, there's a little white highlight that they do up around the top. You know what? I don't want a white highlight. I want more of a more of. We'll start with this color, and we'll lighten it up, and we'll make it a little bit more toward yellow. No, I want to lighten it up, not darken it up. Yeah, there, that's, let's get a little bit more there. That's a little bit desaturated. I cannot seem to find the color that I want. That's not bad. There we go. That's we get that. And we'll put some highlights over here. We'll have our light coming from that direction. Just kind of highlight that side of the hair. And then you do the exact opposite when you go for your shadows. You want to darken it, and you want to pull your hue down the other direction. One of the things people always do wrong with their shadows is they leave the color the same. It's like they'll start with something, they'll start with a color, and they'll go, okay, I'm going to do this bright orange color right here, and now I want to do a highlight on that color, so I'm going to do a brighter color over here, and I'm going to do a darker color over here. But it's much better in terms of doing a shadow if you start with your highly saturated color like this. When you do your highlight, if you make your color cooler, so you've still got the same basic shade, it's just a slightly different color. And when you do that for your highlighting and shading, you get much better results. And when you compare these two here, you can see that one of them just kind of looks flatter than the other. You know, it very much changes the general feel of it. And if you were to do like a, if I come in here and sample the color again, if I do a really big, and I just go, okay, we're gonna do an orange, and if I do the highlight on the orange, if I do the highlight on the orange like that, and I do the shadow on the orange like that, then you get one effect, you know? But if I pull that off of there and I just go, okay, we're going to put a highlight in a slightly different hue, and we're going to put the shadow in a slightly different hue, and you can see there's a whole different feeling to that. There's a whole different sensation around this idea. And this is a great example of when you would want to pull out your blending brush and sort of smooth everything out. Just kind of smooth everything and make everything look awful, because I'm not very good. But that change in the hue really kind of sells the shading and the highlighting. It really makes everything look entirely different. Duh. That was a nothing statement. It makes everything look different when you do things differently. Really? You don't say. But yeah, let me jump in here. Brush and this, and we'll pull that down. Highlight a little over here, a little over over here. But the primary thing that you want to make sure you do is you want to make sure that you follow the direction of the hair. Make sure that you shift your hue as you go to shadowing as opposed to highlighting. This is a little bit too red for my taste, but the most important things to map is your undo button. You should definitely have a button that says undo. So you can go undo, 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 undo. Man, did I fuck that up. Single most common thing to think. Man, did I fuck that up. But then that's like that's the kind of thing that you want to worry about. Is you want to follow and get your you want to get your brush strokes in the same direction as the hair, and you want to get your hair as a single monolithic mass. But you want to get the texture of the hair. You want to get the texture of the hair showing as it's a bundle of strands. It's a collection of strands, which is the main thing that you want to worry about with that. And yeah, that's mostly what I wanted to cover. I did not do a terrible job on those. I'm actually surprised with I'm seeing more progress on drawing hair in this stream than I have seen on anything else I've done in any previous stream ever. So it's like you kind of, I feel like there's this wall starting to come down here, and I'm feeling good about that, because as we move into August here, I've got to continue pushing forward, and I've actually not done a bad job over the course of July. I've put out videos every week. I put out a stream have I done a stream every week in July? I think I skipped the first week in July. This is my fourth live stream that I've done. One of them was just kind of spur of the moment. I was like, this is around the time that I would want to do a live stream every week. You know what? Fuck it. I'm doing one. And then somebody was like, hey, maybe let us know you're doing a live stream next time. Literally decided 20 minutes before I started doing it that I was going to. Yeah. I'm actually feeling much better about my progress this week than I have felt about my progress in the last month. And I'm kind of happy with that. I'm kind of surprised by that. A lot of this is, and this gets overlooked more and more. Well, not more and more. It just gets overlooked by a tremendous number of people. You have to wire your brain so it does the thing you're trying to do. Okay, every time you do something, your brain goes, oh, this is the thing we do. So that goes on the list of things we do. And when your brain puts that on the list of things you do, the more you do it, it goes, okay, let's move this a little higher up the list. And the stuff higher up the list, your brain will literally reorganize and reorient itself to make the things you do most often the things you are good at doing. And this creates what's called... oh, geez, what's it? I want to say environmental. That's not the right word. It's ecological rationality. I've spoken about this before. Katrina has heard all about this, I'm sure. Ecological rationality is the basic idea that whatever you do all of the time is something that you're going to get good at doing. You're going to get better at it than you have any right to be if you do it all the time. And my greatest example of this, my favorite example of this anyway, is my grandfather. My grandfather was a master plumber. He did a lot of really complicated jobs. He did a lot of stuff that is like, it's amazing. He had instant on hot water throughout his house. That's like literally, the water was 150 degrees the second you turned it on, and it stayed there exactly 150 degrees at full hot. It was always there. And the cold water was always exactly 40 degrees. You could run it as long as you wanted. It was 40 degrees, period, all the damn time. And he explained to me how he did it. And I could not understand it. And I'm reasonably good at engineering. I'm reasonably good at thermodynamics and physics. I'm not an expert by any stretch of the imagination, but that really kind of underscored as he was explaining the way he did it. And he worked on this. He just thought about it for years and just went, how am I going to make that happen? What would I do to do that? And he experimented with all these little small scale things, and he thought about how it would expand out to the whole house. And eventually he put it all together, and it all worked, and it was all perfect. I never heard of him having a single problem with it. And the thing that I really want you to understand about this guy is not just this brilliant plumber. He had a 5th grade education. He dropped out of school in the middle of the 5th grade. And he's doing these amazingly intricate and complicated things that he has no business knowing how to do, because he dropped out of school to be a plumber and a steel worker. My entire life, up into my 40s, my grandfather was a steel worker at Buckeye Steel and a plumber in his off time, all the time. He worked all goddamn day long, and he got off work and he went and did all of his various plumbing jobs. And then at the end of the day, he'd come home at 1 o'clock in the morning, go to bed, get up, go to work. That was his week. And on Saturday, he sat back and chilled and relaxed. And on Sunday, he was at church all goddamn day. And that was it. It was just pure work ethic. That was it. That was the only thing he did, was he would just go and he worked at the steel mill. He worked his plumbing jobs, and he came home, and he just had that one day on Saturday that he had to himself. And at least one of those Saturdays every month, he was at the church mowing the lawn and taking care of shit. And he was always doing volunteer work. He was always helping people out. A tremendous amount of my work ethic and what I think of as the way a human being should think of their job came from my grandfather. My grandfather was the first male role model that I had, because I was born in 1969. The Vietnam War is in full swing, and my dad is in the South Pacific working on a flight line. So, he's helping fuel the bombers and fix up the avionics and all of that sort of thing. And, I'm back in the States, and I'm spending all of this time with my grandfather. So my grandfather was the earliest role model for me. But he and my dad always shared the same values, always shared the same general idea of, honesty and a work ethic, and you work. You do as much work as you need to do to get the job done. And they both kind of shared that. And at the same time of them both kind of sharing that, each of them always thought the other had their values completely out of whack. And I have never quite put together what the disconnect was there, because both of them worked like hell to take care of their families and to get the shit they needed to get done. And I never understood what the disconnect was between them, and I still don't, But yeah, my grandfather was a badass, and my dad's a badass too. We're a pretty badass family when you come down to it. But my grandfather's the best example I know of ecological rationality. The man has no business with a 5th grade education doing the kind of fluid dynamics work that he would do. His name is on like a dozen patents for the steel mill. Buckeye Steel had patents on various processes for dealing with steel, whether it was, he had one that was on a particular method of casting steel. And he had another one that was for better results in cold rolling. And it's like, these are detailed material science. You know, it's a guy with a 5th grade education has no business knowing this shit. He has no business understanding how to improve these things. But he cared about his work, and he cared what he did. And he paid attention to it day after day after day after day. And that's the same thing that I'm working with over here. Is I'm making myself do this. These live streams are mostly me forcing myself to sit down and sketch for an hour straight every single week. And I sketch during the week, you know, but it's just like, you know, I pick up the pad and I sketch something, and it's just like whatever I feel like sketching, whenever I feel like sketching it. And I never really feel any pressure to do a good job or to push anything. And I'm just like, oh, this sucks. Fuck it. Who cares? You know, save it, throw it away, whatever. I'll just create a new file and everything will be fine. And having to actually sit and work for an hour on a specific thing is making a difference. And I don't know if it's making a difference to anybody. I don't know if anybody's learning anything from this. But I'm learning from it. That's good enough. And if you're learning from it, great. I love that. And even if the only thing you learn from it is, you know, do this shit every week yourself. And, you know, I'm doing this every week. I'm learning from it. Even if the only thing you learn is if you did this every week, you would learn from it. That's value. That's valuable, I guess. I really am kind of amazed that I'm seeing progress today. That's more progress than I've seen in any previous live stream, and that's to a large extent that's because of you guys. It's because I show up here for you guys. Even if you're not here live during the stream, even if you're just somebody that watches the replay, even if you're here and you didn't even know who I was until months after this, you know. You're part of the reason that I do this. You're part of why this video is up here on YouTube, and you guys are the reason I do this. You're why I'm here, because I feel that kind of social obligation to do that. And I'm sure at least one of you feels a social obligation to show up for the live stream. Thank you for that. You're a huge part of this. But it's getting late. I need to let everybody go to bed, particularly the people in other time zones. But it's past the typical time that I end these, and I never know how to end them. I just really don't. I need to come up with a way to end them. I need to come up with like some kind of ritual that tells me, you know, this is where we end. I'm happy that you're back. I do not recognize the username. So, I don't know. Yeah, I do not recognize the username, but if you jump in the Discord, let me know who you are. But yeah, I'm gonna go ahead and duck out of this. I'm gonna go ahead and duck out of this live stream. Pinsven84, I'll message you on Steam. Awesome, that'll work. It's great talking to you, and it's great doing these streams. So yeah, I'm gonna go ahead and duck out of here. So okay, bye.